looking to buy and looking to sell. Care about real estate will treat you well. You're in the know, the market's moving fast. Let's go, 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 go. Care about real estate. Like and subscribe, don't hesitate. Care about real estate. Like and subscribe, don't hesitate. Like and subscribe. Like and subscribe.
Welcome you guys to our first episode of Care About Real Estate. I'm your girl Kenya Posey, hashtag the agent that cares. I have a co-host today with me, Ron Olson. Welcome, Ron.
Thank you.
We actually are now sitting in Hattie Marie's where we actually met a couple weeks ago. This is actually going to be one of our host events that we have coming up this Sunday with Keller Williams Family Reunion hosted here in Las Vegas. I'm going to be hosting an event. This year it's going to be a little smaller than last year. Last year we had about 170 some agents, but this year I'm probably going to be about 50 agents here. Again, I had to pivot at the last minute to actually find a spot, and I found my place right at home here at Hattie Marie's. Owner is Brandon Marshall. Brandon Marshall was NFL Super Bowl champion with the Denver Broncos. He was a former NFL player, so I am glad to be here in his property. I felt at home since I've been in here the first time, like a month or so ago, and we're gonna make this work. It is here. It's time. So let's just get into talking about what's going on in the market right now. I did jot down some numbers because on Wednesdays is my Wednesday day for my numbers at my office. We usually go over the numbers every week on Wednesdays, and so one of the things I wanted to point out is what's going on now number-wise in the market. Right now, for the month of January, closed sales for January was 2,167 sales. That's wide for the MLS, for the LVR. That's the whole entire MLS system. Now for the week, looking at the weekly at numbers, it's going to be, we had active right now 5,007 single-family homes on the market. That's single-family homes active. And then also under contract, went under contract for this past week is 811 homes. And that's actually up from last week, because last week was 777. Days on the market still ranging in this town 42 to 50, which has been about average for weeks now. 42 to 50 days on the market. Medium home price though, $485,000.
Sure.
And that's a big difference from between real estate back in 2019, 2020. You know, we actually seeing the home prices, rising. That's, it's been rising quite often.
And do you anticipate that home prices will go down in the future or near future?
I don't see it, Ron. I don't see it. Right now, one thing that's been very consistent is the home prices, and they have not gone down. Now, interest rates, on the other hand, we can see the fluctuation of interest rates up and down, but home price has been one consistent thing of actually going up.
Sure, yeah. As much as it would be nice, and we understand the benefit that would be to people if prices go down, it might create a little bit more affordability for certain buyers, but unfortunately, it just comes down to supply and demand, right?
Yes.
And we're seeing less supply than there is demand, and that's just causing prices to steadily increase on a regular basis.
Yep, definitely. Like I said, even January, the total houses on the market right now, total statewide for the MLS for our Galvar for Las Vegas, 8,800 homes on the market. New listings as of today for new listings is 4,673, and that's up from December. December was 2,792.
And maybe like November, December, those are probably amongst the lower months of the year, right? As far as homes listed and people out shopping and all that.
Yep, it's definitely much slower months. So some people have great Decembers, but again, those months for average for most agents is a little slower because you have people traveling, vacationing. And I tell people a lot of times, my buyers, now is the time to buy during November, December, those months, because
I agree.
You have less people to compete against. So
yeah, we bought our home in November, and it's just it's the main benefit obviously is the competition.
Yep, definitely. And right now, I think our home supply is like three months right now, basically like 3.2 months on the market as far as home supplies out here in Vegas. So I do have some buyers out now looking, and the most important thing is I tell buyers right now, let's look now and see what we can get and negotiate it on your behalf, because again, if rates were to drop just a tad bit, it's going to be scarcity of people out trying to, buy homes, and we're going to find ourselves in another situation where you're going to be competing, people purchasing homes over the appraisal price points. So now is always a good time for buyers, especially when it comes from if you're ready. I don't want anybody that's not ready. I want you to be ready and understand your numbers.
Yeah.
So
And I'd say spring is right before spring. This time right now is even the most crucial time. So real estate professionals, of course, we always say buy now, right? But I feel like once you hit spring, people start looking at school getting out. That's probably a huge factor, and like, oh, it's time to start looking towards buying the new house. So I feel like right now is when you could probably squeeze in there before that spring rush.
definitely. And what I would share with my first time home buyers as well too, the main thing is understanding the numbers. So that's what I want to discuss now with you. What is your process? That's one of my things. When I'm working for a lender, my most important thing is making sure that clients being educated, understanding their numbers. I don't want to work with any buyer going out on a contract and they don't know what we're going to be bringing it when it comes to closing table. I discuss the upfront funds, which is going to be your earnest money, your inspection, and your appraisal. And those are the three upfront funds they must have. But there's going to be funding when we get in. It's not just going to be your down payment. It's going to be closing cost expenses. And I make sure that my clients understand and get with the lender. Because again, at the end of the day, I'm the real estate agent. I stay in my lane. The numbers are the specialty with the lender. So talk to me about the numbers. What do you do for your clients?
So you hear a lot. You hear the term pre-approval, which means a lender's reviewed your scenario and confirm you qualify for the loan. But it blows my mind that many lenders leave it at that. They give you a pre-approval letter confirming the amount that you qualify and then send them out to you as the real estate agent to start shopping for homes. Maybe they gave them some estimates on their payment. But if you get pre-approved from a lender and they are not going out of their way to give you details on which loan programs you're going to be using, how much your minimum down payment would be, how much your estimated closing cost would be, they can't determine exact numbers, but give a ballpark, what your payment consists of, what your interest rate would look like, all that stuff. Like if they're not going out of their way to present that to you in a very easy to understand fashion, you should be concerned. Because I always say it this way, like, I don't understand how the lenders can live with themselves not giving that information, because here's what can happen. I'm a lender, I give a pre-approval letter, I confirm they qualify for the loan, which is very important. I send them out to you, but I didn't give them any other information. You go out and show them 25 homes. They get excited. You know, you go under contract, you find a home, negotiate, tough negotiations with the seller. They get very excited about the house. They say, Kenya, you have to win this house for me. You win the house for them, they go under contract, they give their landlord 30-day notice because they got to be out of their rental, and they think they're going to close their home in 30 days. Come to find out, they didn't even know what was going to be included in their payment, or the HOA was going to be how much, and now they're stressing, like once they're finding all these figures out at the last minute, or maybe the pre-approval was even wrong, and then after all of that, they don't get the home. Now they're stressed because like they've already give their notice and all that. So like, I feel like a broken record saying this, but like the pre-approval process is so crucial. And just because a lender gave you a pre-approval letter does not mean that you're pre-approved, or it does not mean that, you know, you fully understand all the figures of the loan. So like that just really has to be broken down, and it has to be correct. It's so important for all those reasons.
Exactly, and like I said, I express that. I mean, any lender I work with, they know I'm very important on when it comes to communication and my clients being educated and knowing their numbers. Because I don't want to go on a contract again, like you said, and have it to cancel a contract and you not understand what's going on, or a buyer gets buyer remorse once they see those numbers when they go out the house. So typically what I do when I'm going out for a house shop, the client really wants to look at, I say contact the lender, see, let's run these numbers, especially when it comes to the HOA, because that plays a factor when it comes to the debt to income ratio.
Sure.
So it's very important that my clients understand the process and their numbers. Very important for me.
Sure, especially if you're buying in a home, especially if you're buying a home in a community with a lot of amenities. Like the pre-approval might have been for $400,000, but then you go out and show them like a condo with a gym, a really nice pool, all these services and all that, and come to find out the HOA fees are maybe $600 a month on that one. If it wasn't discussed ahead of time, then the buyer will be surprised with that later, and maybe they don't qualify based on those HOA fees, because even though you qualify for an amount of $400,000, whatever it is, ultimately what you're qualifying for is what the payment would be at that price. So yeah, I mean, and all it takes is the lender just breaking all this stuff down in the pre-approval process, and it puts out those fires before they ever start.
Definitely, and that's the difference between new home as well too. I like to tell a lot of people a lot of times, and I explain to my clients, new homes and resale is two different ball games. My resale lenders, again, we can see face to face. We have those phone calls. When it comes to new homes, because I do a lot of new home construction homes, I explain to my clients, again, unfortunately, you don't have that relationship. And the new home lenders are not that educational.
Yeah.
You know, they don't educate like that because they don't have the time. They don't
It's
have
not worth their time.
Yeah, it's not worth their time. They have the numbers. The thing is, like, if you know you don't purchase this home, it's going to be another buyer immediately to take over that new home.
Yeah,
So,
they don't feel it's valuable to spend the time to educate you. Because what people don't understand when they go to buy a new build is 9 times out of 10 they're going to be required, not absolutely required, but they're not going to get their incentives that the builder offers unless they use the preferred lender of the builder. So the builder's just feeding in clients to this lender, and so they know that they're going to get these new deals regardless if it's this client or the next one. So they don't spend their time educating the buyer on these very important things. And that's what I hear about all the time.
and that is, like I said, I do a lot of new home construction. No knock on the new home builders, but at the end of the day, I have to explain the difference because it is a very big difference when it comes to knowing the numbers and the process. I've had 2 buyers at new homes, and I'm saying, hey, can I get a hold of the lender? The lenders usually, typically, some lenders won't talk to me. Depends on the builder. Some lenders will not speak to me at all, period. Now, I've had a relationship with some of the builders because I do a lot of new homes. They've actually had a conversation with me, and I'm like, at the end of the day, I need to know my client understands their numbers. Because I've had 2 deals. One deal right at signing, well, my buyer had not really been instructed on his numbers. He didn't understand the numbers. And whether they had the conversation way before, when it came to the closing, it was a done deal. And it was this time last year at family reunion. I'm in conference. I'm getting a phone call saying, hey, we got a problem. And literally, the new bill agent, my client is fussing. I'm trying to, come in between, consult, see how I can diffuse the situation. And literally, my client was at the closing table, notaries at his house, and he did not close in this deal last year. Did not close.
You know what? Whether you're the preferred lender, the builder, whatever lender you are, there's absolutely no excuse. No matter how busy you are, there's no excuse to not educate your clients who rely on you for this information on all that stuff. And it's just like all too common, and it just blows my mind that it's even possible.
Yeah, so like I said, things happen. So I explain to my clients all the time, things happen during a transaction. We can be smooth selling, and then at the end of the transaction, something minor can happen. And the main thing is that you have me here as your agent, gonna try to keep everything calm. I'm gonna step in and see what I can do to make sure I can get the deal closed. That's most important for me, is making sure my clients are taken care of, getting the deal closed. And if it's not a good fit for the clients, we can't make it work, we can walk away. On to the next house, something more greater is coming.
Yeah.
So
it comes down to you being the caring agent, or anyone being the caring agent or caring lender. Like, how much do you care about this person? If you're not providing all that info up front, you don't care. It's just like plain and simple. It wasn't worth your time.
Exactly.
But it can make the transaction go so much more smoothly.
Definitely. I want to talk a little bit about, us working together as lenders and real estate agents. We're talking about lenders and, the situations during the transactions. The most important thing for me, like I said earlier, was communication. I'm big on communication. I've been in situations where lenders, they disappear on me when something's going wrong because they feel like they need to solve the problem first.
Yeah.
But, for me, I'm about communication. We need to know what's going on so we can work together as a team. So, what do you think about that situation?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, if you're not able to get a hold of the lender, you should probably be concerned, because there's probably a problem that they're too scared to tell you about. And when a lender pre-approves a client, they should have checked everything to make sure it's correct and that you don't run into those problems. That's the whole point of a pre-approval. But mistakes happen. There's human error or whatever. But the best thing the lender can do is just answer the phone or pick up the phone before the agent even calls. And I'd say that's helped me build character in the last 13 years. I mean, I've always done that, but and I try to get these pre-approvals right every single time to where there's not a problem. But sometimes things happen out of my control, and I have to be the one to explain the bad news. And regardless of how long I'm doing this, sometimes I'm so scared to call Kenya and tell her, like, we have to fix this major problem on the transaction. But it comes down to the caring again. Like, it's the best thing for these people involved. Plus, then I don't have to have it on my mind every night for the next 4 nights until I finally get the guts to call and tell you about it. So, like, just call them, tell them about the problem, and say, here are our options to fix the problem. and just move forward the best way you can from there.
Definitely, and I appreciate that. Like I said, I've been in transactions where I'm like, oh God, what's going on? We don't know. Even on the selling side, I mean, this past December, I had a situation with my sales. We were on the contract, and we could not reach even the buyer's agent. Nobody's answering the phone. Lender, buyer's agent. So we was like, okay, wait a minute, something's going on. I am panicking because I know my buyer, I mean, my sellers were ready to get closed for the holidays. We originally wanted to get closed in December. We had to extend, and now it's like coming up on Christmas. We're like, okay, what's going on? And kind of find out at the end of the day, the buyer lost their job, but they had got a new job. So then they had to redo the numbers and had to add on some co-bars. And, we didn't have the information for like a couple of days. And then we were like, got this information. We're glad it's working out, but, you got to communicate because we were panicking. So.
They were probably trying to fix the problem without you knowing about it, but that's just a bad way to go about it. The buyer's agent, the lender, call you and say, Kenya, I can't believe this. The buyer lost their job. They're stressed out about it. But the good news is they've got this new job, plus their dad's willing to co-sign. So we still need to gather all this information and plug it in. They need to get their first pay stub, and then we can get you to closing. But please give us a couple more weeks. I can't believe this happened. What's the harm in saying that? Picking up the phone and calling that, and saying that to you.
Definitely communication is the key for any good transaction. So again, for me, the relationship between the lender, title company is communication. That gets us transactions so smooth to the closing table. Yeah. And that's what we want to do. We want to get the transaction smooth to the closing table.
Sure.
So, all right, Ron, let's talk about the rates. I know right now we talk about the home prices and the median price around 45, but what are you seeing now with the rates? I know a lot of people look to the agents about, we got a crystal ball, we know what the rates are going to look like. We really truly can't tell about the rates or the numbers. Most important thing, we see the trends, but what do you see right now going on with the rates?
Well, a common thing that buyers right now will say is, I'm going to wait for rates to come down. And I understand where they're coming from because higher rates equal higher payments. You got to make sure you can afford the payment. But when we look at over the last few years since rates have gone up, we've seen rates do this: up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. So it all comes down to economic factors. The two primary ones right now that are affecting rates are really inflationary numbers. What kind of control are we getting over inflation? So if inflation continues to rise, it's typically bad for mortgage rates. And jobs numbers, which those two kind of go together. So if there's less unemployment, it signals a strong economy, which can also, I wouldn't say it's bad for rates, but it's not a telltale sign that rates are about to go down. So we'll see fluctuation in all these reports and many other factors. So we'll see factors that work in our favor as far as rates go, and we'll see rates are going down. Finally rates are going down. As lenders, we're hoping for this. Buyers, agents, everyone's hoping for it, right? So we'll see rates are finally going down. Then another report will come back that will turn them the other way. So we're seeing that, in several month stints over and over the last few years. So they're sitting somewhere on the 6 and 7s. And so the moral is, make sure if you can't afford your payment, don't go buy at current rates and then worry about getting foreclosed on later or something, or being stressed every day of your life trying to make this payment. But if you can afford the payment at the current rates, I know it sucks, rates are where at there right now, but they may not go down. And so another thing is, we thought in this industry, so rates were in the 3s for 10 years with some small increases, and even in the 2s during COVID. And we thought when rates started to go up, that was when we were finally going to see maybe a little bit of break in prices, because maybe that will hurt demand a little bit and that will bring prices down that way. But the demand still exceeds supply in housing even at higher rates. So while you're waiting for rates to go down, we don't really know if that's going to happen. We thought it would have happened sooner, it hasn't. But meanwhile, prices are going up. So that's just something to consider. I hate to be persuasive, but that's a very important thing. If you're considering becoming a home owner, that's something you really need to consider. Is we might be in this market where rates are hovering in the 6 and 7s for a while.
Exactly, and like you said, the housing prices, it's been going up. It's been steady. It's been consistent. That's one thing that's been very consistent for the house prices. And right now, we're looking at the fact that here in Vegas, we have several factors we got to look at. We have the new stadium that came open. We have now we got baseball coming. And then we're gonna have a new Hollywood. It's gonna be a smaller Hollywood now come to Vegas. So those facilities are gonna be growing. And then keep our fingers crossed, we may have NBA coming soon. So again, those things that can put a factor when it comes to house pricing. So as you stated, the rates are what the rates are gonna be. most importantly for me, when I purchased back in 2006, the rates were in the sixes. That was never a conversation nobody had with me. My conversation was always about my affordability, how much I can afford as a mortgage payment. I was a single mom, so my main thing was coming from rent and going to a mortgage. Can I afford to purchase this home on my own? And I didn't have any. Nobody was even discussing rates back then. It wasn't even a concern. And I even bought my rate down some with the program I did. But at the end of the day, my thing was about affordability. What can I afford to purchase? And that was going to be my price point. I wasn't going to be able to pay over anything over what I couldn't afford a month. So I tell buyers today is if you're ready, have money saved and you're ready to go, worry about the monthly mortgage payment to make sure you can afford that monthly mortgage payment. Because your first home is really and truly never going to be your forever home. You're going to get something you actually can, make sure you can live in, suits you and your family, but it's not going to be your forever home. And your first home can always be maybe your legacy for your family, building this generational wealth. Working the first home can be your rental property later on in life. But most importantly, that home is going to be generating some income versus rent and not never generate any type of income.
Absolutely, and I think that's one thing our generation and younger generations need to consider while we're in this market with rates that are at where they're at, is make sure you can afford the payment. If the home that you love has too high of a payment, I strongly suggest that you consider decreasing the purchase price of your home a little bit. One thing I think about a lot is like my grandparents, my grandparents, they all grew up in smaller homes. So our generation's kind of a little bit bougie. I'm definitely guilty of this, but maybe settle for a little bit smaller home. Make sure it's the home that you need, but if you can settle with one less bedroom, or if you can settle with more square footage, and that will get you into a home comfortably, consider buying, because like you said, it may not be your forever home. You can build equity in that home, and that can help you get to the next home down the road.
Definitely. And I want to say, even my mom, her and my dad purchased their home years ago, and my mom is currently in the same home. And it was a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, split level home, nice room. I mean, still go home, still got plenty of room for us. But at the end of the day, she's actually rehabbed that home a couple times, did some renovations, based on the fact she was a homeowner. She could do that. As you're renting, you can't do that. My most important thing is I try to tell my buyers is come and get something to make you some wealth. It's about generating some wealth, generating some income into your home. Because again, if I were to go to broke today, I would say is I have an asset. I have my home, so I want to use the word broke. I'm not broke because I have a money making income property there as far as real estate. And so people have to look at that because at the end of the day, when you come into a pickle, I tell people when you get to a situation where you have to sell. That's income there that you can actually generate, move on. You can always rebuild. There's no thing of not being able to restart over. You can start something over 1,000 times, and it can be better each and every time too.
Yeah. Another thing to consider is if rates do come down, that will make housing payments technically more affordable, which will drive up demand more than likely, and then home prices will come up even more. So if you buy that home at the current rate, if you can afford the payment and rates do come down, you have the potential to refinance and lower your rate that way. So let's say you have a 7% rate. If rates come down to 5%, you can refinance, basically meaning paying that loan off, establishing a new loan at the lower rate, and that would reflect a lower payment.
Definitely.
One thing we talked about before, which is very important to consider, is if you buy a home right now and you're hoping that rates come down and you can do that refinance, one thing you absolutely need to consider is to keep your credit score good and keep your debt low. So sometimes I see people run into the issue where they bought a home and of course, maybe you don't have, this is your first home or whatever, you need to furnish it. So they bought all their furniture on credit. Maybe they needed to buy a new car after. And now when they go back to refinance, because they have more debt payments, it's difficult for them to qualify. So in this market where we have those higher rates, you really need to consider that in anticipation of being able to refinance down the road.
I'm glad you said that because as agents, as us, one of the first things we tell our clients, do not buy no furniture, no appliances, and especially no car during this process until you get the keys in your hand. But now you're right. We got to consider the fact that they may run into situations where it comes to the interest rates might be a little higher for them to even afford the affordability of the house when they get ready to refinance. So definitely thank you for letting me know that. That's something I will start sharing my buyers. Y'all listen to that now. We got to still think about that debt to income ratio with these rates. So that way we have to refinance later on. We got to be able to afford it as well too.
Sure. Yeah, and that's something I've been trying to consider more educating my buyers on lately too, because That's the advice you're always told when buying a house. Don't buy any cars, don't apply for any credit till you close. And that's true because that will help you get in the home. But yeah, in this market, you need to consider that so that you have the ability to lower your payment later.
All right, good info. Good info. I like that. I like that. So moving on, let's talk about why we're here at Hattie Marie's. One of the things is, like I said, when we first originally met, we came here to Hattie Marie's. We had lunch here a couple weeks ago, and I introduced you about my event I have coming up, which is going to be held here in Hattie Marie's on Sunday, February the 16th. It is going to be a collaboration and networking event for agents with Keller Williams. I actually opened it up for other agents on social media as well too to stop by, come have some food and drink and have a good time. We're going to have a DJ on set. We're going to have live music. And again, we have our sponsors. And thank for you, Ron, for coming and being one of my sponsors. Again, I was in the pickle this year, coming in 30 days, planning everything out. I got my sponsor with yourself. I have my Stewart Title is going to be one of my sponsors. And we have Custom Fitting is going to be actually one of our sponsors as well, too. So I appreciate her coming in end of the day to come in as well too to do one of the sponsorships. So sponsorships are very important when it comes to events like this because it costs money.
Sure.
It costs money. A lot of people look at real estate agents thinking, oh, they got the money. And a lot of times when with the market, as the market's up and down for you guys, it's up and down for us too when it comes to business. And I'm just I'm a solo agent. So
Yeah, and this is a cool venue for this. It's like the perfect setup to have an event. We got the bar right there, the downstairs, got this cool upstairs area. So I'm excited for it.
I am too. Like I said, I feel right at home here. I appreciate, like I said again, Brandon allowing us to come into his space. I've been trying to market. I've been marketing as well for the business as well, and making sure that people know about it. Because originally I didn't know about it at all. Like I said, my title company had actually originally told me about the spot. So I'm just grateful and thankful for being able to stumble across this and being able to do the event here. So I'm just looking forward to Sunday. A little nervous, get a little stressed when it comes to events a lot of times because there's so much to do. You want to make sure everybody's happy, so you want to make sure, when you have many people coming into town, that everybody's taken care of. So I'm looking forward. We're going to have a good time.
Another reason this is a good venue is because it's right off Las Vegas Boulevard, which people traveling here might be staying on the Strip or whatever.
Yep, definitely. Our convention's at Mandalay Bay, so it's like only a couple minutes up the street. So good location for them to shoot down here and have a good time and hang out with some other agents. A lot of time, my referral partners, these are the first time we're meeting people face to face. We can actually see them on social media. We can have phone calls, but coming to events like this, we actually can meet them face to face. And you get the vibe with those clients. You get, real estate professionals that you work with, your referral partners, because you want to see how you're a good fit for one another.
Sure.
See how they actually interact with other agents as well too around you.
Yeah, that's always fun when you know someone electronically or over the phone, you've worked with them, and then you finally meet them in person. So I'm sure that'll be fun for you this weekend.
And hopefully, like I said, for me, hashtag the agent that cares, hopefully I portray what I show on social media, because a lot of times, I will say, a lot of people are a little different when you see them face to face. So, but for me, I make sure that I'm very consistent. Sure. I show up, I support, and again, for my clients and my business, I make sure that I'm putting 100% in here.
Absolutely, yeah.
But Ron, I thank you for your time today. We're going to get this episode 1.
Thank you for having me.
I appreciate you being my first co-host. You're going to be back on here plenty more times. Again, I see you on Sunday. We're actually going to do another podcast on Sunday, so I have you again on Sunday. And again, we're going to actually meet some other agents from across the globe, give them a little location to see where they are and what type of service they do as well too. For me, one of the things I did want to add, my clientele is every clientele. For locally here, I'm the regional sports and entertainment ambassador for Keller Williams. I'm in Keller Williams Luxury. But I also do all price point, first home buyers. I do a lot of veterans. 80% of my clients are veterans because I was the case manager at Nellis Air Force Base for quite a period of time. So again, I appreciate, having that background and being able to, that vast majority of people, where I'm not in this bubble of just treating one particular client. All right, you guys, this wraps up episode 1 of Care About Real Estate. I hope you guys had a great time joining in and tuning in with us. Be sure to check me out on all social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, YouTube. Make sure you subscribe as well. Subscribe to my podcast. We have many more to come. You guys know how to reach me. Hashtag the agent that cares. Here we actually closed a deal with a
Yep.
client.
Yep.
This year, February 19th, coming up, we have another deal
Yep.
with the same
The
client,
same exact
closing
client.
that same property because she
Yep.
has to relocate back to
Yep.
where you need to be.
Yep.
And so most importantly is like the the client actually came back, followed back up with you, that you knew her situation, that she needed to relocate. You guys connected us back together.